What if one of the most underrated Star Wars games ever made a comeback, but rebuilt for modern gaming? Not just like a remaster, but a full, ground-up remake. Squad-based tactics, brutal close-quarters combat, and a darker tone than almost anything else in Star Wars. Star Wars Republic Commando wasn't just another shooter, it was something special. And honestly, it deserves more than just, being left behind in 2005 and the recent remaster. Today I want to talk about why a game like this needs a remake in this, era. What made it so unique, and how a modern version could actually become one of the best Star Wars games ever made. This is a game that I personally, for me, just missed my top 10 Star Wars games, but only because of recent games like Fallen Order and Survivor, which I love. Now, what made Republic Commando special? And why did it never get its sequel that was planned? So, back when Republic Commando first released, it stood out immediately. It wasn't your typical, Jedi power fantasy. There was no lightsabers, no force powers. You were just a cloned trooper. But not just any trooper, you were a part of Delta Squad, an elite unit operating behind enemy lines during the Clone Wars. What really made the game shine was its squad-based gameplay. You weren't fighting alone, you were commanding a tight-knit team, each with its own, specialties. You played boss, you were the leader. You also had Fixer, the tech expert, Sev, the sniper, and Scorch, the demolitions expert. And each one had personality. They weren't just like AI, they felt like actual brothers. You gave orders in real time. You could breach doors, set up sniper positions, tell somebody to hack a terminal, provide covering fire. And the best part, it was all seamless. No menus slowing things down. It was just quick, intuitive commands. It created something most Star Wars games, never really attempted. Tactical immersion, especially for a first-person shooter. Now, it aged, but it still holds up. Now, the graphics are dated, even with the remaster that came out a few years ago. Enemy, the AI is pretty basic by today's standards. Level design is a little linear. But here's, the thing. What I always said, what the developer said when they made Halo, if you can get 30 seconds of fun and just keep doing that over and over and over and over again throughout the campaign, you can have a great game. So that's why this game works. The core gameplay loop is that 30 seconds of fun, and it just, you keep getting those over and over and over and over as you play. And the atmosphere still hits. The tone is still one of the darkest in Star Wars gaming. You're not a hero saving the galaxy, you're just another grunt soldier doing a job. That grounded, gritty perspective is something, modern Star Wars games don't touch, that often anymore. Which is exactly why now is the perfect time for a remake. So look at where gaming is today. Squad-based shooters are, I would say, thriving in, especially extraction shooters and things like that. But tactical gameplay is popular. Players want deeper, AI systems. They want immersion. Now, Republic Commando with, modern tech, you can have advanced squad AI, that reacts, dynamically. You can have destructible environments, better lighting, sound design, larger, more open-ended missions. You can even have it where instead of just playing as boss the entire time, you can have specific missions where you go out and do other things. Like if you were to play as Sev, the sniper, it would be like one of those, the Halo Reach mission where you go with June and you're doing a sniper mission. Things like that could or ODST where you're playing as Nick, Mickey, and you're going and you're doing you're the explosive expert, things like that, but of that type of nature. Plus, Star Wars as a franchise, shows and games are proving that fans want stories more than just beyond Jedi and Sith. Look at Andor, one of the best Star Wars projects ever, especially in recent years. And that is just, grounded, nitty-gritty, espionage, tactical stuff like Mandalorian, same thing. Now, our Republic Commando remake fits perfectly into that space. And let's not forget, there's already demand. The original game definitely has a cult following, and have wanted that unannounced sequel for a long, long time. So, it's something that always comes up. Now, this is where things get a little bit exciting. A true remake, to me, is not just a graphical upgrade, deeper squad mechanics. You can give, more complex orders than just like go to this sniper nest or things like that. You can have coordinated flanking maneuvers, stealth takedowns as a unit. You can have custom squad loadouts to decide like what if your if your squad should have like this, if Seb should have this type of sniper, if Scorch should have this type of thing, or so on and so on. So your squad won't just like follow commands; they'd adapt and communicate more naturally. And the expanded story, the original campaign is great. It did end up, a little abruptly, which was going to lead into the planned sequel at the time. And you could also expand it more, so we'd have new missions across the Clone Wars. Connect it more to larger Star Wars events. And yes, maybe even finally give closure to Seb's story. Modern combat systems. You'd have like more, the blasters would feel heavier. Smarter enemy tactics, the Trandoshans, the battle droids, the Genosians, better close quarters combat than just like the little wrist knife you would punch over and over and over again. So that's what I would do. So think less arcade shooter, more tactical survivor. And obviously this is the big one, co-op multiplayer. This one feels like a no-brainer, like where you can go into this single player if you want and control the squad. But to go in with, 2, 3, 4 friends and each have your own set skills of what character you picked. So a 4-player co-op campaign where you each control a member of Delta Squad. Progression systems, customization, replayable missions, and, you can stretch this out. Now, the risk and why it's worth it. Not every remake, lands, obviously. If it loses what made its original, special, its simplicity. The tone could fall flat if they take it and expand too much. But if the developers stay true to a core, the core identity of it, you keep that tight squad gameplay, the brotherhood between this squad, it's not just another remake. This is something that Star Wars could desperately use, especially for a lot of fans that don't play that many and prefer like that old type of, Dark Forces type of stuff. At the end of the day, Republic Commando wasn't just ahead of its time. It's exactly the kind of game that would thrive today. The question is, will it ever happen? And if it does, will they do it right? So, would you want a Republic Commando remake? And what would you want to see added or changed? Do you think it should have, obviously, co-op, online co-op is a given. But, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you sat this far into me rambling or just talking, this is stuff that I would probably rather do while streaming. I just don't really have the time to start that at this point. So this is more me rambling and trying to put my thoughts together on things that I would like to talk about and see happen, and to see if people, the community agrees with me. But thank you so much for always, tuning in, watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. It means the world to me. So until then, talk to you next time.